Hey, everybody, welcome to Hollywood Live. We've got a heck of a show for you today. My guest is Tameka Foster Raymond, who is talking candidly about her journey from heartache to triumph in her newly released memoir, Here I Stand in a Beautiful State. And yes, you are beautiful, darling. How are you, Tameka?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to see you again. It's been a while. We kind of go way back in the day, but you have had such a journey and such a story to tell, and I'm glad that you're straightening things out. For yourself and your family. That's important. But let's just start. Let's just jump right into it, girl, because there's a lot of stuff here. You went through probably the worst pain that anybody could ever experience, and that's the loss of a child. Your son Kyle was unfortunately killed while just floating on a little floater. A man came up and ran into him, and he was in one of those vehicles that people shouldn't be riding in half the time. And your child was killed. Now, if there's any good news, the man was convicted of homicide. But all these years later, you're still advocating for your son. I hear you're trying to get that lake drained.
I'm not actually totally trying to get it drained, but they have to lower the water levels in order to, they really need to excavate and survey the lake. The lake has, there's so much debris at the bottom of the lake. They've found that it was a black town called Oscarville that was, thriving and people were there with families that was drained. That was drowned and flooded. And that part of Lake Lanier.
Wow. But I love the fact that people are now listening to you all these years later. I don't know how you get over that loss, but you kind of moved on in many, many ways. But even before that, of course, people know you from being married to Usher Raymond. There was that. And you shared two beautiful children together. That was Everybody thought you were a gold digger, and I want you to know I never said that because I knew that you had a real major job before you met him. And in fact, you said when you married Usher that you took a pay cut. What did you mean by that?
Not to go too much into things about him, but I did. I made a lot of money as a fashion stylist. I made really good money. It was my own money, it was no allowance or anything that was given to me. I did really well on my own. So it's insulting actually to him for people to say I only married him for money. He's very successful. Some would say he's sexy or whatever. So I think it's kind of a diss if you're just like, hey, you only like him for money. Like, that doesn't really make sense. There's a lot more things to like him because of.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Speaking of, we've now found out he's going to be performing at Super Bowl halftime. What was your first thoughts when news came out?
Prayers answered. I prayed for him to get on the Super Bowl, to be a part of a Super Bowl for 20 years, like 20 years. Even prior to, being married to him, I always thought that he was fit on that stage. He should have been there, and I just think he's paid his dues, and this is beautiful. It's really good to see it come to roost.
Yeah, good. Are you guys friends again? Are you friends with him now?
Friends is a stretch.
Okay.
But we're not enemies. We don't dislike each other. But my friends, we talk on the phone all the time. Although we do talk, but we really kind of keep about our children, but we don't hang out and go have coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's okay. As long as you're talking about the children, because I know there was a huge custody battle that he actually won at one point for your children that you shared. He did not win. Is that incorrect?
That's a myth.
Okay, good. Clear. That's why you're here today, to clear all that stuff up. Yeah.
We had a custody battle, and he did get primary physical custody. But we have joint legal custody, and that was what was really important to me. Primary physical just means he has more days that he can spend with them if he should choose per month. But no, it wasn't as the media reported it, like he got sole custody. That's not true.
Well, part of that, and I'm going to bring it up because Wendy Williams was not your friend. back in those days. I remember all those stories, and we don't need to really discuss her situation, but how difficult was that? I mean, constantly being in the news like that, and you being the underdog all the time. How does that affect somebody?
I think it's a sad state of affairs. I think that the world is, I don't know. I just think they major in the minors, focusing on gossip and focusing on negativity. I wish Wendy well. I think that hurt people hurt people. And I think I was a target of her tirades while she was obviously going through some things as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think I was given a fair shot in the public eye, but I don't live for what the public thinks either. That's one thing I did learn over these years. And discuss that in my book, Here I Stand. I talk about how I stood through it all. I'm standing through it all. Um, I have a beautiful life. I'm in a beautiful state. I have no ill feelings toward anybody. Even Wendy Williams, she gave me a hard time. I guess some would say she was doing her job, but
Mhm.
disparage others and bring them down is probably not a good career path, because you see where you kind of wind up.
Yeah, it didn't exactly work out well for her in the end, but the end is not over for her. So, like you said, we don't wish her any ill will or anything. But let's talk a little bit about the book. First of all, you have hooked up with Uber producer DrummaBoy to do this new revised audio version of your book, which I have not listened to it yet, but my producer did, and she said, "Oh, it's really pretty good." So I'm like, "Oh, great! I'll be listening." How did you happen to hook up with DrummaBoy to do this, and give me the concept and where that came from?
He's actually a client of mine, and I have a lot of producers that are friends of mine. I'm friends with Jazzy Faye and Brian Michael Cox, and a lot of them, but they're all really busy. And Drummer Boy, who's also very busy, has a really vast musical background. Like his family has orchestra ties and all this stuff.
Mhm.
So I went to Drum. I said it would be amazing if he would score my book. And he was so open to the idea. And I said, it would be cool. You can, you put music to the different moods of what I'm talking about in the book, and kind of go with the ebbs and flows of the book. And he did exactly that. I'm really proud of it.
Wow. Yeah. And I know it's good because there's a good story to tell. Tameka, what would you say to other women, and not just other women, maybe some men too, who really, the difficulty of getting over just some of the things that you've gotten over, but and then being able to move on. And like you said, I can look at you and tell that you don't hold any ill feelings toward these people. And I agree with you. Why? Because it's just wasted energy. But that's not an easy point to get to.
It's the really important thing is you have two states of being. You can be in a suffering state, or you can be in a beautiful state. I've made a conscious effort and a choice to remain in a beautiful state. I can't dwell on things of the past. I can't dwell on what didn't work out in terms of relationships. I just kind of wait and listen to God. And guess what? Who God has for me, he will be there, and he will send him to me. And people who are meant to be in your life, they don't leave your life.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. I just remain in a beautiful state. In terms of some of the things that I've been through, I mean, it's hard. It's a everyday. I haven't got losing my son Kyle. That's absolutely not
Mhm.
true. But I learned to live through it and live around it, and find ways to make his legacy be known. So everything I do is surrounded around Kyle. My business, Eli Kish, my clothing line, that's Kyle's name backwards.
Mhm.
Here I talk about Kyle extensively in my book, and losing him, and my struggles with God in having lost him. Um, my foundation, the Kyle's World Foundation, is dedicated to him. And I have an animated project that I'm working on called The Odd Life of Kyle Lyles. So
Wow.
Kyle is involved in everything I do every single day. Absolutely.
It's so important. I've spoken to not a whole lot of women, but some of them are my personal friends who've lost children. And I often, I just try to hug them because I don't know what to say. I mean, people, your friends, they don't often know what to say. What would you suggest that this has been a longer journey for you now than it has for some of the other people I'm talking about. What should people say to you to kind of comfort you when something like that happens?
I'll tell you, I have a lot of friends that just kind of got quiet because they didn't know what to say. But what I would tell you, just check in on them, call them, and just sometimes get on the phone and listen. Or you can call them and, hey, let's watch this television show together, because it does get very lonely when you lose a child. You feel like you're the only one that understands your pain, and you feel like nobody understands. Everybody's out taking their kids to a soccer practice, or everyone's, going on a Disney cruise with their kids, and your child passed away. So if you have someone that have lost a child, just be there for them and make sure you're present. You call and you're checking in. You'd be surprised, that little nudge, you might call at the right time where you're, stopping them from going through like a real depressed moment.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's very good to know. So what's up next for you? You're still working as a stylist?
little bit. I'm focusing, the natural progression from styling is to do your own clothing line.
Mm-hmm.
So online, it's called Eli, E-L-I, Kish, K-I-S-H. And that's basically Kyle and Ish. His name was Kyle Ishmael. It's his name transposed. I created it during the pandemic. It's loungewear, easy, like real comfy, cozy clothes you can wear around. And I say, you call it things that you can wear from the couch to the cabana.
I love it. Where can we find it? Is it online?
EliKish.com. And soon we're partnering with Amazon, and we're going to do a big launch there.
Wow. Oh, you go, girl. I'm so proud of you. I know this has been a tough journey, but with God and good friends and your own faith in yourself, clearly you are a survivor. You really, really are. I have to give it.
But what I will tell you is get that audiobook, because when you listen to me tell the stories, I think it just has a different impact, because you kind of can hear my nuances in my voice. And I just think the cadence of how I tell the stories makes you be able to live, and you're in that moment with me.
Oh, I love it. Here I stand in a beautiful state. Thank you so much, Tameka. Come back anytime. I'd like to see your clothing line. As soon as you launch that, we'll do another show with you.
Yes.
Okay, good to see you, darling. As always, you take care. And for everybody else out there, we've got a huge catalog of these Zoom shows for Hollywood Live. So tune in, and by any means, whatever you're doing today, take care of yourself and someone else.